It's what we need, a full house.
Yeah. Okay, Trustee Miller is on the consent agenda today.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I believe I have a few seconds more, so everything's going well. Life's good.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it might be a stretch.
It's 6.
Okay. This meeting is called to order at 6 o'clock. Please stay seated for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice.
justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm required to read this, I'm told, so I'm going to read this. Welcome, everyone. To mitigate the spread of COVID-19, protect the public health, and provide essential protection to Van Buren Township residents. This Van Buren Township Board of Trustees meeting will be conducted virtually as permissible under Public Act of 2020, Act number 254, and declaration of a health emergency in Wayne County. To participate in the meeting electronically, please utilize the hand raising. If you want to talk, use the hand raising option to the chat or use chat to notify the moderator. We will be broadcast live on the Van Buren Television YouTube channel, and we will be rebroadcast on Van Buren Television Channel 12. Clerk Wright is excused today, so I take it I go to Joanne. Are you the one that's going to be doing the roll call? Hello? Who would like to be a clerk today?
I can take care. I can do it.
Treasurer Bud.
Okay, Treasurer Bud is here. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Boynton.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Frazier.
Here,
Supervisor McNamara.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Treasurer. Okay, today's executive summary is the consent agenda consists of board meeting minutes, the prepaid lists, and the voucher lists, our everyday bills, like heat and electricity. It also includes a stormwater maintenance agreement with Ashley Capital. It includes an abandonment of portions of the Sherman and Sugar Drain and a fireworks display permit application by the Michigan Fireworks Club. New business includes discussions on updates to the assessing job description and a corresponding title change. There includes discussion on the selection of Ventura LLC for the purchase and installation of a shade structure and furnishings at the Van Buren Township Tennis and Pickleball Park, and discussion and selection of Fishbeck for a risk resiliency study. Also, there'll be a discussion on a 5-year contract with HydroCorp for enforcement of a mandated cross-connection program for our water department. And there'll be discussion on a 3-year contract for sanitary mains camera inspection. We'll also be discussing the special land use permit and voting on Clover Communities, which is the senior care facility on Belleville Road. And we will be discussing our Sumter, a possible change to zoning to the Sumter Road corridor, which is south of Belleville. There will be a first reading of an ordinance which allows different coverage of a parking lot by industrial customers. All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
so moved.
Ms. Frazier,
Board.
Mr. Boynton. Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Excuse me, Treasurer Bud, could you call roll? Please?
Trustee Boynton.
Yep.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Frazier.
Yes,
Clerk Wright is excused. Treasurer Bud is a yes. Supervisor McNamara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next option, the next agenda item is adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Miller, could you please make the approval?
Sure. Adoption of consent agenda includes number 1, board meeting minutes of March 16th, 2021. 2, prepaid list of March 18th, 2021. 3, prepaid list of March 25th, 2021. 4, prepaid list of April 1st, 2021. 5, voucher list of April 6th, 2021. 6, approval of the storm water maintenance agreement and resolution 2021-08 with Ashley Crossroads South LLC. 7, approval of the resolution 2021-09 and 2021-10 for abandonment of portions of the Sherman and Sugar Drain. 8, approval of the fireworks display permit application by Michigan Fireworks Club.
Thank you. Can I get support?
Support.
I'm sorry, I heard 2.
I'm Sherry Bud got it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I have it's a consent agenda, so hearing no further comment, Ms. Bud, could you call roll again?
Trustee Frazier,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Boynton,
Yes.
Sherry Bud is a yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Supervisor McNamara,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. We're moving on to the public hearing, of which we have no public hearings to schedule today. We are now into correspondence, announcements, and presentations. Sherry, I believe you have one.
Yes, I do. I guess I would like to notify everyone that Joan Francois has given her notice to resign as a member of the Planning Commission. Joan first came on the Planning Commission in 1983 and was off for a short time before coming on again and has served until her resignation date of April 1st. She's decided to spend more time traveling, enjoying the warmer weather in the winter, and being a good grandmother and travel companion for her husband, Vic. We wish her and Vic the very best, and not to forget, we are always available for a visit. We also want to thank her for her dedication and years of service to the Planning Commission and to the residents of Van Buren Township. Thank you, Joan. You will be missed.
Thank you, Joan.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I called her on behalf of the board and thanked her also. She's an amazing woman. I haven't talked with her very much, but I mean, I'm not going to go into stories. She's just an amazing woman. So is Vic. He's a pretty good guy. All right. I will mention that we had another one of our thrilling things. It's called a rock painting contest. They put together this for a virtual Parks and Recreation thing, and as usual, I laughed and raised my eyebrows and said, "There's another thing that nobody's going to go to." And as usual, I was wrong. So they were gone in less than an hour. And if you see a rock like this in the ground, anywhere out there, in the back of it, it states what you should do, which is
Oh,
I'll be darned.
what's it state you should do, Kevin?
somewhere else, and I will do it. Yes. And hide it somewhere else. I wanted to show you. So
Great.
yeah, so if you want to do that on your own, just paint some rocks and put them around and start posting them. It's kind of cute. So I wanted to tell you about that. Also, I wanted to let you know that we are renting out pavilions in our parks, and we also have plots of land in our Van Buren Township Park for community gardens. So we've got some of that available. Also, we got a phone call from an extremely happy local senior, Mrs. Wilkinson, and she wanted to express how thankful she is for our senior center departments reopening the transportation division. She suffers from sight loss, and this service is her only way to get around. It's the only way to get to the doctor's office. She wanted us to say thank you very much, and she loves Bennett Porter, who transports her. And we hope to expand that service this year with our wonderful new fleet of buses and equipment. Also, I got a letter from the American Red Cross. We did it again, and we sold it out again. My kudos to the people that are involved with this thing. It's American Red Cross does most of it, but the rest of it's done. Dan Selman does pretty much most of it, but they sold out. They're very happy with us. They want to come here every week if they could, because they pack every one of their spots, and our people here go and fill those spots too. So thank you to the employees of Van Buren Township for everything they're doing over there. Also, don't forget, we do have Forgotten Harvest food pantry every Tuesday at 2:00, goes from 2 to 4. Please, you open your trunk from the inside of your car, and we'll put it in there. Make sure the trunk's clear a little bit. You don't have to fill out any registrations. You don't have to fill out any forms. If you need to get it for somebody else, we just want to know who they are, name and address, and how many people are in the family. We recognize that there's a lot of hurt out there, and there is a lot of hurt. This is a privately sponsored food bank that it does get help a little bit from the federals and the state. But we get over 300 cars now a day on this, and they line up sometimes an hour or two in advance. Don't let that scare you. If you came at 3, you're probably going to shoot right through there. But we're also looking for volunteers, so contact their senior department. If you'd like to volunteer giving food out. We could always use help because there are so many people that need help. Okay. And that's going to have with Joan Franzoy. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Announcement-wise? No? Okay. We're going to move on down the list then. I'm sorry. I bought new glasses, and
That's a mistake.
I shouldn't stop, but they gave me glass. I mean, regular glass, no prescription glass on them. So,
How dare them? They're called glasses.
They're just for looking good, right? So where are we? We're at public. Let's see, public intercourse. Okay, we're at public comment. All right, we have unfinished. Okay, so right now we're at the public comment section. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment on today's items? Moderator.
Yep, it looks like we have one.
Okay, great.
Mr. Weir, you're able to unmute and go ahead.
Yep, so good afternoon, everyone. Lamar Weir from Congresswoman Dingell's office. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to speak here to just get important updates from Ben Buren. Just look forward to the rest of the meeting. If there's anything that our office should be working on or there's any issues, here to collect that as well. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, school supervisor.
That's
Just want to remind them that anything they can do for residents or push any services and make them available to our residents, we greatly appreciate the cooperation and partnership.
Yeah, we are working on a few things. I can't tell you. Oh. Anything else? No? Okay, we're moving on then. We're moving into the unfinished business of which we have none. And now we're into line item number 1, discussion on to consider approval of updating the assessing job description and updating the job description title as Director of Assessing. Can I get a motion before we begin?
Supervisor, I make a motion and to consider approval of the updates to the assessing job description and title change from assessing coordinator to director of assessing.
Thank you.
Support.
Support, okay, by Mr. Martin, Trustee Martin. Okay, who's going to be taking this? Linda, are you out there? Or Nicole?
They're fighting over it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We were definitely fighting over it. I was like, no, Linda, I have this. Just stay off for a few minutes. How are you doing this afternoon or this evening, board?
Good.
I come to you this afternoon asking to consider the approval of the updates made to the assessor's job description and title change from assessing coordinator to director of assessing. In preparation of the future retirement, a review of the job description that was last updated in 2013 was needed to comply with current requirements of the role. In addition, the description contains all the duties and expectations of a director. Therefore, it should be reflective in the job title. So with that, I am asking for any questions you may have, but I do want to let you know that I've been working on this for a while. And I know our current assessor has been bluffing about leaving us, and now it's come the time that he's actually ready to go. And I admit I've been dragging my feet on this, and then now I know I just had to push for it, and I'm before you tonight asking for approval. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Before you go, Linda, do you have anything you would like to say? Director Stevenson or Assessing Coordinator Stevenson? Okay, I guess not. All right. Okay, so is that a hand up, Trustee Miller?
Yes, so
Right.
I have spoken to Nicole about this assessing job description. And some of the questions that I asked her were, why hasn't this been a director position from the start? I mean, all these years, and now Linda's leaving, and now we're making this an assessing director. I just wanted to say that. And two, I asked Nicole, Director Sumter, I'm sorry, to look into salary comparisons for what this position will pay versus what other townships of our demographics is paying as well. So if the director could cover those, so people know that we're talking to each other and the questions that were being asked are being addressed.
Okay. First, I would like to start with the question about the salary comparison. Well, I'm sorry, the job title change. I'm not sure of all of the history regarding the assessing coordinator. However, once I became the human resource director, the supervisor tasked me with going through, and I'm not sure if you guys remember this a while ago, but it was what we call the listening tour, where we spoke to every director and every employee within the township and kind of analyzed their job descriptions at that time. And once I listened to what Director Stevenson was saying, she was a director in every right. She had employees, and she has her own budget, and she has her own department. However, I wasn't changing the job description at that time. If one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it did come a time where she could not sign the role as a coordinator. And that's when it was brought to my attention again. And I'm like, okay, we do need to update this, because going forward, whoever comes after her, they're not going to be a coordinator. They will have to sign the role just like she has to sign the role now. And I do understand prior to this, we had a contracted level 4 that was here also helping out part-time. So we are trying now to just go with what we have now, which is a level 4, and continue on where we won't need a contractor to come in and do that on our behalf. So that's the first question. Second question was regarding the comparables within our area. The only problem I found with that was we don't have too many comparables that are level 4s. Most of the communities that are next to us, they actually contract. So I went out and I looked at another job description that's actually posted in Southfield, and they're actually looking for a level 4 as well. So what I did was kind of take where we could try to find someone that could take on the position or might apply, looking at between 80 and 83 where Linda is now. But I'm telling you, I'm finding that we're not going to get anyone to apply for that salary at a level 4. So we're just taking it as it goes right now, and we're going to try to see if we can get anyone. But if not, we may have to follow suit with other communities, with possibly contracting it out if we can't find anyone.
Because they're rare to find.
They are very rare to find.
All
and
right.
most of them don't work at a municipality, they're contractors. And that's what a lot of companies or a lot of municipalities are doing now. So, but we're hopeful. We are hopeful though.
So when will Ms. Stevens step aside, Linda will step aside, and this is really geared towards the next person that comes into this position.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair. Was there some reason this hasn't been, on our radar before? Because it seems like it's way overdue.
It's the only reason it wasn't on the radar before is because Linda Stevenson does not have an ego. She doesn't care. She doesn't care what her title was. But unfortunately, we need to find somebody new, and we have to try and bring as many people in. It's hard to ask somebody to come be an assessing coordinator. They immediately, I'm told Linda Stevenson said that they immediately respond, I'm not going to be a coordinator. I'll be a director maybe, but not a coordinator.
Or an assessor. They don't want that title behind their name as a coordinator.
So
I listen to the directors when I'm preparing things like this to come before you. And me and Linda, we've been talking over the years, and we really spent a lot of time together over the past couple of months, just trying to make sure everything was up to date. It really is the same job description. It's just a little, if you see my job descriptions before, I try to fancy them up and give them our Van Buren flair. So that's really all it is. But I really wanted it to reflect what the title actually does. So
Linda Linda, like I said, had no ego. She had a level 4 that came in and worked with her. Linda's kind of an artist. She loves the theory and the practice of assessing, which, oh my God, shoot me now if I had to do it. Those numbers drive me insane. But she just loves it, and there's just, there was no need to change anything before because she was happy. We were happy.
Through the chair, I just like to say it's way overdue, and I think it's we've got to make the move in the director category and get away from coordinator, because assessing is the whole bread and butter of our township tax base on how assessment, homeowners, how industries, and I mean, it's the bread and butter. So it's a crucial position. So it should be director. I agree.
Through the chair.
Fraser.
So Supervisor, when you say she doesn't have an ego, that's not the point. The point is that this was overlooked by us, the township, for a very long time. And this shouldn't happen. We should be able to assess, excuse the word, our staff and see who should be called an assessor, who should be called a supervisor, for all, men and women.
She's never really requested a change.
We should have requested it.
I don't know as far as I'm concerned, as far as Linda's concerned, being called an assessor is the highest form of.
I'm just saying, as a whole, Kevin, we shouldn't overlook things like this.
Okay.
Just so you know, Trustee Miller, we are, as the positions become available, although they have already been looked at, that was part of my role, or what you hired me for. So this is why it's being brought to you. So we are kind of going through everything, redoing the job descriptions, looking at title changes. And, I've brought a few to you already. And you're like, Nicole, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, can we do this? Can we change this? And so this is one of those, it's time for it to be updated.
I mean, we call her a director here. I call the police chief, even though he's not. He's the deputy director of public safety, fire, or whatever, police. So, I mean, it's just, and the reason we have these crazy things is because it's etched into 20 years of policies and books and ordinances and everything else. So to change them is not easy. This one's not going to be difficult. Police chief will be difficult.
And I just like to say she did an excellent job, and she will be missed.
Mm-hmm.
How long do we have her for?
Not long.
She hasn't given a definite date. And who knows, she might change her mind.
All right, now she's a director, maybe she will.
Who knows?
Can't find that mute button yet, but she will if we.
She's probably texting me now, like, if you don't stop.
Yeah. week doesn't go by that I don't try and figure out how to get her to not leave us, but
Yeah.
it's, you know.
Any other questions, board?
Hearing no further questions, Ms. Treasurer Butt, could you call the roll?
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sherry on mute.
Okay, let's try that again. Treasurer Bud is a yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Boynton,
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Frazier,
Yes,
Supervisor McNamara,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
Next
thank
item
you.
is discussion on new sunshades for the pickleball court. Can I get a motion of approval before we begin the discussion?
Supervisor,
Trustee Martin.
I'm gonna find it on my agenda.
Okay, number 2.
I move that we consider approval of Ventura LLC for the purchase and installation of shade structure and furnishings at Van Buren Township Tennis and Pickleball Park for $43,230.40.
Thank you.
Support.
I think I heard Frazier. Frazier, was that Frazier? Yeah.
Yes,
And Don, okay. All right. Trustee Martin, you have the first seat for speaking, if you would like to. Or I'm sorry. I should have the introduction. Mr. Bass, could you please start, and then we'll go to the. I'm sorry.
You're on mute.
Thank you, board. Thank you, supervisor. I appreciate it. Tonight, I bring to the board a project that is the second step in improvements to our park systems. This is the beginning of phase 2 of our parks improvements. This in particular is to provide increased usage for our brand new tennis and pickleball courts at Van Buren Park. The Pickleball Lounge is a project set at the township's new pickleball park at Denton Road and Beckley, which is the old Harbor Club tennis courts. Pickleball is one of the largest growing sports in our region and in the country. It is especially popular with both youth, believe it or not, and senior citizens. As our new Van Buren Pickleball Park is ready to open for the first time, Van Buren Township is looking to make this space more accessible to residents throughout the hot, sunny, warm summer season. As we were building the pickleball park and we were putting the final touches on it, we realized that it's going to be really sunny out there, and there's going to be a large demand for these 4 courts. We've Executive Assistant Elizabeth Renault and I went and looked at other pickleball places and found that there was a lot of people waiting to play, even on courts that had 12, 15 spots for people to play. And so we decided to look into and contacted Ventura, which is the furniture supplier that Township has utilized for all of our park projects over the last 3 years. Highlights include the pavilion projects, the playground structure at Van Buren Park, and of course the Quirk Park splash pad and park improvements that we did in 2019. What we decided to propose for this project was the purchase and installation of 2 4-seated table sets and a 20-foot by 70-foot cantilevered shade sail. And I'll show you a picture of that in just a second. These will be installed to provide comfortable seating out of the sun for residents to enjoy our brand new recreational amenity. I've supplied the board with information about this and be happy to answer your questions. The shade sail and furnishings with installation under the state pricing plan, meaning that we're getting the best price possible for these pieces of equipment, is a cost of $43,230.40. And let me just show for the benefit of the residents who are at home, this is the style of seating that we'll be putting in. When we actually went out to the pickleball park in the fall of 2020, there were seniors out playing, and they had all brought their fold out fabric chairs, and they were all had them seated against the fence line. And they did that because it was the only place on the whole fence line that, and the whole encasement that had shade. And so what we've designed, what this project will have is 2 sets of these types of tables. One set will have a handicap spot for someone to be handicap accessible. The other will be a 4-seater, and it'll have this nice coloring and wood framing. And then it will be underneath the shade structure, which is 20 feet deep by 70 feet long. So there'll be a spot for the picnic table area here, a spot for a picnic table there, but also spots for our seniors and youth and other participants at the pickleball park to bring their own furniture to the site so they can wait in comfort and style like they deserve to. This project fits in between the tennis court and the pickleball court. So it's not just for pickleball, although we anticipate pickleball will be the highest use. However, in Canton Township over the last few days, the tennis courts are actually getting more play than the pickleball courts, which is very interesting. We may have that same thing happen at Van Buren Township as time goes on. So that's why we place this in the middle of the court where we have space. So the colors that you see in the picture are not the colors that we're going to pick this. We're going to pick something that matches. And as you can see, it'll match the other furniture there. We have all the colors of the rainbow available. With that, I would be, and this is what the seating looks like with the 4
Gallons at 2%.
The 4-seater here, and right here is the 4-seater, and then the handicap accessible one just has a spot without one of the chairs. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions that you have regarding what we're calling Van Buren Township's first pickleball lounge.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Once I got Trustee Martin made the motion. Did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, through the chair. I think this is a great asset to the pickleball courts. I was out there not too long ago and saw that they were nearing completion. And it's funny because over the weekend I was scrolling through the TV and I saw a professional pickleball tournament that was quite fascinating. I've never played it, but I was watching. I'm like, oh, that looks like that might be fun. So anyway, I'm glad we're getting some shade there for the people that want to play. And I think this is a good deal. And I will be voting yes.
Okay. Trustee Boynton.
Just one question, Matt, in regards to the shade, as far as its durability and capability in the event we have a high wind occurrence, here that we kind of channel up, whether it be in a high wind or a severe thunderstorm or tornadic event. How is it rated to handle that type of an event?
That's a fantastic question. The shade sail foundations, which I actually submitted in the packet, there's a plan that shows how deep they go, and the anchoring system for the sails themselves are engineering rated for the Michigan Building Code's wind load, which is to handle 110 mile per hour storm over a certain amount of time. Don't quote me on the time, I'm not the building official, but I know that it is designed to handle the Michigan's code for 110 miles per hour, which is our region's wind speed. So it's also, the shade sail is also designed to be taken up and down, or it can be left up year round. As you notice at Van Buren's splash pad, we take the shade sails down every year. And we do that to lengthen their life. In this instance, I believe once the installation is done, we'll be talking to the manufacturer and the contractor that installs it to find out how easy it is to take up and take down, what the cost of replacement is, and what the benefits are to leaving it up or taking it down. And we'll make a determination whether it stays up or down at that point. But you can have it up all year if you want. It just may not last as long. They're designed to last over 10 years. The shade sails, without any problem. If it's damaged or ripped or improperly installed by the contractor, in the first year it can be replaced. But it is set for the wind load, and those foundations go into the ground pretty far. We're very comfortable with the engineering design.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak?
Through the chair.
Mr. Frazier.
I just think it's an excellent investment for us and for our residents who enjoy pickleball. I think it's necessary to have something of this caliber out there.
Okay. All right. Trustee Miller.
So I'm sorry, board, I don't feel the same way the rest of you do. And here's why. You know, we're spending over $43,000 for the seating and the awning. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, I know who's using the pickleball courts. We all do. But what, you know, I have to think, well, what are we doing for the basketball players? We haven't done anything. So I think, wow, that's a little lopsided here. And to spend $43,000 here when a couple months ago, maybe not even that, a couple of weeks ago, time just flies, we were talking about the Riggs Park area and what we wanted to see out there. And I brought up having a canoe launch, paddleboard launch at that location because it's so close to Huron Metro Park. And I was told, well, that would be over $48,000 and they would have to come out of the general fund. And we're not planning it at this time, but somehow this gets planned because you looked at, oh, they're going to be out in the sun. Now, I also know that at several of the other courts around our area, other townships and cities, they don't have the awning. I checked, but I'm not opposed to putting seating out there. I just think it's a little costly to spend this kind of money when I think we could use it other places. I'm not opposed to benches and being placed strategically. I'm opposed to spending $43,000. And I know that includes the benches, but for this project, I think we need to spread out and do other things in other areas because we know that we need basketball courts. We know that we could use another canoe launch, but somehow this gets pushed to the front of the line. And, you know, it's a great idea. I understand, but I'm sorry. I don't see it that way here. So I respectfully will be voting no.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
But I guess since it's my administration, I probably should say why. I should defend some of the comments. First of all, I agree with you. We need basketball courts, and we're looking at a $7-8 million building, which is going to house a basketball court,
which will also have a pickleball court as well, indoors.
Well, it's in the basketball court, right? When they're not using basketball. So, but the reason why it's being asked for now is because, yeah, we did not realize the effect that sun has on people, and we should have, and we didn't think that through. So, you know, we want to make sure that this park is finished and finished right and be done with it, and not go piecemeal like we're having to do on so many of other places where we can't just throw money at it and say, let's build this $1.5 million park out in its entirety, along with the $50,000 canoe launch. It's just, we want to just be done with this one and have it up running for the start of the season and be that, and that's why.
Well, it would still be running. They still can use the courts. They use them all over the place without the awning, so.
It's just very hot. But okay, and I understand, I'm not trying to change it, but I'm just defending why we were doing these things. Okay. All right. Any other questions? No?
Through the chair.
Yes, Trustee Martin.
I would just like to add that, you know, when we start these projects, we need to finish them and finish them in, you know, in a good manner. We say we want to be a premier township. We want to be a premier community. But this is the type of things that get us to that status. Yeah, it's $43,000, but I think it'll be well used and well deserved for the people that are out there. You know, that's my opinion.
I don't think $43,000 will make us more premier or not. I think we have adequate, we put this $200,000 pickleball court in. I think that was great. And I think we need to diversify and, looking at what else we can do with that money, what else we can do for the community besides just one spot. That was my point.
Well, we do one project at a time through the
And it
chair.
was done.
And, well, it's done even better now, I think.
Through the chair.
Mr. Frazier?
I'm outnumbered, so I'm going to lose here, but I just
I'm
wanted
not
to give my
saying
opinion.
You are.
I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just voicing my.
think you, Trustee Miller, I think you brought up some valid points, but I think when you start something, it should be a completion.
This
And
was completed, though. This is an add-on after they went out there. So this was completed. Could it be better? Yes, every place could be better. Could we use that money in other areas? Absolutely. That was my point. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Trustee Frazier, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My apologies.
Frazier, yeah. Okay. So I guess on behalf of Van Buren Township, I, like all of us, did not realize the effect of sun on a concrete surface. It gets hot, and it was hot there. And so, yeah, that's why we want to move it forward so that it gets used, because otherwise it's an adequate facility, not a great facility. Now it's a great facility. That's my feel. I'm not push any further on this. Does anybody else have any questions before we call votes?
I just like to say, I think it just will make it a complete project, and it'll be even more used by the residents than it is presently.
I think so. Treasurer Bud, could you call, hearing no further comments, Treasurer Bud, could you call roll?
Sure. Trustee Bud is yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Boynton?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
No,
Supervisor
Yes.
McNamara? Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is discussion as 3. This is a vote to consider approval of Fishbeck Contract Services for a new study. Can I get a motion for approval and read the resolution? Would anybody like to move forward with line item number 3?
Through the chair,
Trustee Martin.
I make a motion that we consider approval of Fishbeck Contract Services for a risk and resiliency study, not to exceed cost of $25,800.
support.
Trustee Miller. Okay, Director Tater, who is leaving us on August 14th.
No,
No,
no.
say it ain't so.
Actually, it's Friday the 13th. That's when I'm leaving. Yeah, this is the first of 3 items that I'm bringing you tonight. Not as flashy as pickleball courts, but just as necessary in a variety of ways. This one here is for Fishbeck to work with me on developing a risk and resilience study. What this is a precursor to another mandated requirement, and that is that we complete an ERP, or emergency response plan, for our water and sanitary system for Van Buren Township. The risk and resiliency plan, what has been done differently with these now is that both the EPA and EGLE are requiring formal certification of both the risk and resiliency study as well as the emergency response plans. So that's something that we want to make sure that we meet the deadlines and submit them on time and get these things in so that they're in full compliance. Just so you know, if you had an opportunity to read over the material, the risk and resiliency study just basically gives us the bottom line as what are the vulnerabilities in the system? What are the things that we need to look for? Things that could be potential problems that we need to make contingency plans for in our emergency response plan. So this needs to be completed, and it needs to be completed by June 30th and submitted to the state. And the ERP, which will be based on this study, then will have to be completed by December 31st of this year as well. So I'm just asking the board to approve the funding for this, so I can begin work with the Fishbeck engineers on putting this study together and completing it.
All right,
Through the chair.
thank you, trustee Frazier.
So, Director Taylor, you believe that this risk and resiliency study is necessary?
Yes, it's mandated by both the Eagle at the state of Michigan and the EPA. They require both.
It's required.
Yes, they're required.
So we have no choice as a community. We have to do it if we move forward.
Yeah, if we don't do this, we'll face potential fines and other penalties, at the very least.
Okay. Pretty cut and dried. So I'm going to actually ask one last time if anybody has any further questions on this issue. Hearing no, Treasurer Bud, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Boynton,
Yes.
trustee Frazier,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Martin. Trustee
Yes.
Martin. Treasurer Bud is a yes. Clerk Wright is
Yes.
excused. Supervisor McNamara.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Number 4, discussion on and to consider approval of a 5-year contract to the existing professional service agreement with Hydro Corp for enforcement of the SDWA mandated cross-connection control program as it relates to backflow prevention devices for a total cost of $249,000. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
There we go.
Support.
Don't I'll make it. Frazier and Miller. Okay. Take it away, Mr. Taylor, Director Taylor.
Okay, we've had before do our cross-connection inspections. As far as I know, it goes back to 2008 that they've been here in the township. They precede my coming to the township. And they've provided us excellent service. What they've done so far is they've done all the commercial properties that require backflow prevention devices and make sure that everyone's in compliance with that, perform the inspections, provide us with the records and the data so that we can file with the state on an annual basis and meet our requirement for those. The state has expanded the intention of the cross-connection program to go beyond commercial properties, but also to extend to residential properties as well. And what this simply means is we're talking about irrigation systems. We're not talking about entering into people's homes and inspecting anyone's plumbing or doing anything of that nature. This is strictly dealing with those homes that have underground irrigation systems. And just to make sure that they have proper backflow prevention devices on those systems so that it doesn't cause any potential contamination or back siphonage either into the house or into the public water supply. These, we're seeing more and more, just like with the risk and resiliency, with the ERP, with this, these things are increasing dramatically, and a lot of it can be attributed to the situation that occurred in Flint. And we have seen this ratchet up. We have a whole new lead copper rule, which we have complied with, and we've been doing a lot of work with that, and there's still more work to be done to get into compliance. But those are things that are now a new reality for water and sewer. And every community, we're not unique in this. Every community is faced with the same challenges. Some communities have already moved ahead and begun this process. We're beginning ours this year. And we've already been just sending out flyers and notifying residents that there will be inspections that will be coming. We've divided the township into 5 sections so that these residential cross-connection devices are considered low hazard devices. They're not high hazard. So they can be inspected on a once every 5-year cycle. And so we're breaking up the township into 5 sections, and we'll be going through these sections once every year. And that's the charges are actually based on the total amount of potential inspections that we'll have to do. We don't know the total number, but we've estimated a high number on top of those that we do know that exist. And so we're pretty confident we're going to come under this total number in the end because of the fact that we've highly overestimated the total number throughout the township. So with that, this is a 5-year contract. This is $249,525 spread out over the 5 years. So we'll be biting it off in chunks every year of about $49,000 a year. The board has any questions about this? I'll be happy to answer.
Through the chair,
Trustee Martin?
I have a two-part question. First being, how will homeowners with irrigation systems be identified? And should upon inspection, they need repairs, will that cost the homeowner any money?
Yeah, the homeowner will be responsible for their own repairs. We're not charging for any of the inspections or re-inspections. We're actually going to provide them with a small backflow prevention device that they can put onto their outside house spigot just as a courtesy. But we're not doing any additional charges. The only charges that they will incur is if they have to repair a device that's broken. It's their device, it's on their property. They will be responsible for those costs. So the township won't be contributing to that, nor will they be, taking any of those costs on.
Now, the first part, how would they be identified? The people with irrigation systems, are they just going to inspect each residence, and if they come across it, they take care of it, they inspect it?
Yeah, we've identified a good number of them already, and by visual inspection, and we're going to continue to do that until we have a complete list. And we'll work with HydroCorps and our staff to make sure that we get all those included in our list.
Raise my hand. Okay. So let me ask you this question on Trustee Martin's question. Is there anybody that legally got their irrigation system installed that wouldn't have a cross connector?
I would be surprised if people didn't put it on there. It's pretty
by our ordinances or by our zone, by the law?
Yes, and it's pretty standard equipment. But what we're looking at is the long-term maintenance of these systems. And that's what the Eagle is concerned about, what the SDW, which is the Safe Drinking Water Act, which is put out by the US EPA. It covers all of this, and it's long-term maintenance of these things to make sure that they continue working. Because there are backflow prevention devices that will fail over time. And the more immediate threat is actually to the homeowner and not to the public water supply. Because if you have something that backs up into your irrigation system, we all put down fertilizers and everything else into the system. And what they don't want is they don't want that to get into the water system and back up from your irrigation system into the home. There have been documented cases where people have been seriously hurt or poisoned by those types of things.
All right. Any other questions? No questions, hearing none. Treasurer Bud, could you please call the roll?
Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Boynton?
Yeah.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bud is a yes. Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor McNamara?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we are now down to advanced underground, number 5. Consider approval of a 3-year contract with advanced underground inspection for sanitary mains. We're going to send cameras for all of our sanitary systems to see what kind of condition they're in. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
At the total bid amount of $213,521.35.
Got it.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So moving on, Director Taylor, could you talk about this?
Yeah, this project is a product of our asset management that we completed, the SAW grant, which identified a number of things, condition assessment of our sanitary and so forth. And we went through the same thing with the water. But in this regard, this is focused on our sanitary system. We clean it on a regular annual, on a routine basis. We file reports with the state on an annual basis. And what we are doing now is taking this to the next level according to our asset management. And we are going to be cameraing our work inside the mains. And we're going to be first, our staff, our crews will be doing the cleaning as they always do. We're on a 7-year cycle to do all the sanitary mains throughout the entire township. And this will be the first 3 years of doing the combined work of the sanitary cleaning and inspection with the camera work. This information is going to be then collected and downloaded into our GIS. So we'll have current information. We'll be able to identify any kind of infiltration or leakage or any other serious structural problems that are in our mains as well as we do this cleaning. So it's all part of a routine maintenance program, which has been prompted by the asset management program that we've developed for Van Buren Township. We've broken it down, as I said, to 7 years that this entire system will be cameraed. Then when we get done, we'll start over and we'll go another 7-year cycle, so that this is an ongoing project. Never be completed, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to provide us with data and information on the condition and current condition situations with our sanitary mains. We are recommending 3 years because there's a lot of continuity to be had in having underground, advanced underground work with us. There were 7 bidders on this project and they were the low bid. And they're very familiar with our system. They've worked with us in the past in assisting us on specific projects. We know the quality of their work. They're a highly competent and qualified company. I believe they work out of Westland, so they're pretty local for us, very convenient. And they're familiar with our staff as they've worked with our staff on different situations throughout the township. So with all of that, we'd like to recommend that Advanced Underground would be the company that would receive this contract bid, and that they would work with us beginning this spring, 2021 through 2023. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Through the chair, I'd just like to say it's a necessary thing, to keep our residents safe. As far as I'm concerned, it's necessary.
Yeah, it's like any kind of maintenance on anything. We all own cars, and we don't change the oil, we know what will happen. If we don't change the tires, we know what will happen. We don't wait until the car explodes before we look to change the oil. And
I hope not.
Nor do we wait till all the tires go flat before we replace. And so with our underground systems, they're underground, they're buried, we don't think of them, but they're important because they sustain the entire infrastructure for the township, and they contribute. Water and our sanitary systems contribute to the quality of life here in our community. So it's important. You're right.
Through the chair.
Trustee Miller, I think. Yeah.
So Director, that over 213,000 will be split up over the 3 years, correct?
Yes.
And how long has this company been in business, and what would happen if it went underground, or it would go into bankruptcy, or it would dissolve?
We would then probably have to either rebid or go to the next bidder and negotiate, a completion of the project. We had 7 bidders, so we had 7 qualified companies that came to the table. They were the low bids. The rest of them, I think I included those bids in your packet for you to see.
You did.
Yeah. And so you can see that those bids ranged in the mid 200s, 250 to 300. And then there was one very ambitious company that thought 700,000 was a good bid. So, I mean, we've got a number of companies that we can choose from as backups if we need to.
And have you worked with this company before, Director Taylor, in all the years that you've been doing this?
Advanced Underground is well known in the region.
Okay.
They're very well, they come with a great reputation. And we work with them here in Van Buren Township.
Great. Good to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, hearing any further questions? Hearing no further questions, Treasurer Bud, could you please call roll?
Treasurer Bud is a yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Frazier, sorry.
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Boynton,
Yes.
Supervisor McNamara,
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, board. It's greatly.
All right. Moving on to the next grouping would be line item number 6, discussion to consider approval of special land use request by Clover Communities. That would be the senior center, then Belleville Road. Can I get a motion?
Supervisor, I make a motion for discussion on and to consider approval of a special land use request by Clover Communities Van Buren LLC to construct a senior housing development.
Support.
Who said that? It was somebody said.
Support.
Sherry Bud got second.
That's what I thought. I was gonna say, you
Okay.
got yeah, Ms. Frazier.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm a senior. No.
I know. I try and make it fair.
We're all seniors.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Director, who's going to take this power? Yes, okay.
Yes. Thank you, board. Good evening. I will go over some of the project basics, and then we can talk about how the project was approved and what the next steps are from here. And we also have Beth Ernott, as well as I think Matthew Rowland from Clover Development here, who can participate in the discussion also. So I do have some plans available for view, but I think what I'll do is just put a image up of the some of the project basics, and then we can refer to more specific plans if you'd like to do so. I'll just show on a PDF here, and excuse me while I zoom a little bit. So this is as you heard from the supervisor, this is a project for a senior housing development. It is a independent senior housing development with 128 units on roughly 16.16 acres of land west of Belleville Road, north of Tyler Road, and just south of Robson Road, with a roughly 1.57 acre outlot that's proposed. And the outlot and the main parcel are both zone C2, and they're both in the Belleville Road overlay district. The building that's proposed is 45,860 square feet with three floors, and there is also 9,600 square feet of garage floor area. The total floor area in the building is 137,580 square feet, and there are 5,500 square feet of land area per independent dwelling unit as required under our zoning ordinance. So that's the acreage is there for the number of units that are proposed. There are 4 single bedroom units that are 682 square feet in area. There are also 124 two bedroom units proposed, range from 776 square feet to 810 square feet. There's also approximately somewhere around 12,000 square feet in a communal room usable floor area that will be used by the tenants of this development. There are 162 parking spaces proposed. The site is heavily forested currently, and the applicant is proposing to maintain or preserve 438 of those trees on site and remove 256 trees, but replace 108 with additional landscaping, including a mix of shrubs and other plants. The building facade that's proposed is more than 50% brick as required by the zoning ordinance. There's 25% hardy plank siding, 16% wood, and 7% vinyl. This is a project that, as we said, is this independent senior housing project. The township, if you recall, had passed a senior housing, I'll take the screen share off for now and we can come back to that. The township had passed a senior housing ordinance in 2019. Senior housing, as you know, is a special land use in Van Buren Township. We've had one recent proposal for a assisted living style senior housing development. This is our first significant proposal for a independent style senior housing development since the passage of that ordinance. Because senior housing is a special land use, it undergoes a site plan review and special land use review process that involves specific standards for senior housing, as well as general standards for special land uses that are overseen by the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act that make sure that anything that a community calls a special land use basically blends in with its surroundings. And so this proposal was reviewed both through the lens of a site plan review for the technical details, as well as through the special land use lens for those project specifics about senior housing. The project has undergone several Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission meetings. A variance was granted for the project to have additional garage area in comparison with the zoning ordinance restriction to 4,800 square feet of garage. They have roughly twice as much, but that is more consistent with what's required for multiple family housing and larger housing areas. So the BZA had approved the variance for the additional garage area. There was a variance that was denied for architectural standards, and you now see a project that meets the township's architectural standards. And the Planning Commission has also reviewed this in 2 different meetings, and the project has now been recommended for approval, both conditional approval for the preliminary site plan, which again is many of the technical details about how the zoning standards are met across the board, and the engineering preliminary feasibility is established, as well as for the special land use. And as you recall, the Board of Trustees also reviews special land use requests. So that's why this project is before you tonight. Before we go into the applicant's presentation, I will say a few notes, and just bear with me as I toggle back to a screen share just quickly. I just want to run through some of the conditions of approval, and I think it's important to mention some of the progress that was made on this site. The board may be aware and may remember that as part of the 2020 master plan, there was a circulation plan that was proposed that laid out a sensible network of street connections across the township. One of the most vital ones in this area is to eventually, hopefully, have some form of a road connection where Robson Road crosses Belleville Road. And then from Tyler Road, you have also a north-south connection. So an east-west connection of Robson Road across Belleville Road, a north-south connection from Tyler Road. This will serve future development in this area well, because it will make sure that people are able to have more than one way in and out of different sites that get built in this area, and keep traffic patterns to a defined location. I say all of that because this project made a lot of progress in relocating a driveway that was just slightly offset from where Robson Road dead ends right now. So I know that one of the most significant concerns with a project like this up front was the traffic impact on Belleville Road. And I will say that as part of this project, we have worked with the applicant to make sure that they offset their site driveway from the dead end of Robson Road to make that a safer turning movement onto Belleville Road in the short term, but also so that the site plugs in easily if there is a future road connection to the north, so that there's the ability for this outlot to be developed, and there's the ability for the Clover site to have its own footprint that ties in to that road network to the north. And then this is all a backdrop for some of the conditions of approval that were recommended. There were conditions related to this driveway and the access to make sure that it's approved by the Wayne County Department of Public Services. Also conditions in place to make sure that if there is ever a cross connection to Robson Road to the north, that there's basically adherence to that by the applicant, and that there's the ability to maybe restrict that driveway to the site so that people get directed toward the main road to the north, and reduce those turning movements onto what's likely to be a busier and busier Belleville Road. We also have conditions recommended by staff between the principal planner, the township engineer, and the township fire marshal. I'll briefly summarize those conditions. There's a recommended condition that there's an approval of a utility plan and stormwater detention plan by the township engineer in Wayne County. There are going to be some recommended revisions to the architectural elevations that the Planning Commission imposed as part of their recommendation for approval, primarily that the garage areas should be broken apart so that you don't have long masses of garages, and also so that there's some brick added to the balcony pillars so that the balcony pillars are made out of, at least at the base, a more robust material. Another condition is that Wayne County's approval of the stormwater detention pond landscaping is gained. That there's approval by the township engineer in Wayne County of stormwater detention calculations, submittal of a photometric and lighting plan that addresses comments in the principal planner's report, submittal of details for the dumpster enclosure, the revision of the sign design to include a monument base, relocation of a transformer pad that's just in front of the building there, and then multiple conditions in the township engineer's letter, which if you recall, there are 2 steps of site plan review. The bulk of the township engineer's review actually occurs at the next step. We don't go into much, really in depth into stormwater, sanitary water, and pavement design at this juncture. That's something that there are many comments in the report and conditions in the report at this point, but the next step is for this project to go through a more rigorous engineering review with both our engineer and Wayne County. So there are multiple conditions related to that. And then the township fire marshal also had some concerns or some comments, not concerns really, minor comments regarding the installation of an electronic Knox box and an emergency responder radio coverage system in the building when it gets built. So with those conditions in place, I think we went over the really all of the conditions. As I mentioned, there are many things in the township engineer's letter if you want to look at that, but that's going to be reviewed more at the next step. So with those conditions in place, the Planning Commission did recommend conditional approval. If the township board concurs with that approval, then this project moves into engineering and final site plan review, which may take, it's a little hard to tell how long it will take based on the review time with the county, but that's the next step from here. So it would go back to the Planning Commission for a final site plan review before there's pre-construction and construction. So with that, that is probably a lengthier summary than you may have wanted, but it's a pretty complex, big project. So there's a lot to it, but you do have a conditional approval recommendation, and I'll be glad to defer at this point to the applicant, unless you have any questions for myself. The principal planner, Vidya Christian, is also here, and Director Beth is also here.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Just one question. It was a little difficult to see. Concerning the amount of traffic on Belleville Road, was there ingress egress lanes at the entrance there coming off of Belgrade? I just couldn't see it. Do we have that there to help ease the traffic on Belleville Road, at least for right now, until we do get Robson and the other street established?
Yes, it's through the chair. Yes, there was a revision to this driveway to actually move it south, and in that revision, they added some tapers to the approach. The traffic impacts did not actually recommend any improvements as it was originally submitted at this time. So there was a traffic study completed. It did not recommend the need for any significant changes to the Belleville Road lanes and any additional egress or egress lanes.
I'm confused. Did you just say there's no deceleration or acceleration lane at all?
There is a taper. I don't think it would be considered it's not an actual lane on Belleville Road, no.
So you mean people are gonna stop on Belleville Road and make this turn?
The way that it lays out, it's a taper to the driveway, and I can show you on the plan.
Would you?
But it's not a dedicated lane for ingress into the site.
Supervisor, if I could add 2 cents to this. The presentation of the site plan and the special land use currently is based off of the traffic study that was done and the recommendations based off that traffic study that Clover and the township have seen. With this taper is what was recommended. However, in the next step of this process, and that's why Director Power and the Planning Commission added the requirement that it has to pass the county's approval. That's where the county is going to do their due diligence and see if that deceleration lane is necessary based on their metrics and their rules.
Okay.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. It's gonna okay.
We might want to wait and see what the county says, but also give some very serious consideration. Maybe my former commissioners on the Planning Commission can take care of this, but looking at Belleville Road in that area now, with it being just 2 lanes and the speed limit being 45 miles an hour, that's moving pretty quick, and that is a very well-traveled road right now, an extremely well-traveled road by all vehicles, from motorcycles all the way up to big trucks going up to Costco and to 80 Transport and the other trucking place we have up the street there. So I think that we may want to give that some very serious thought, and not wait for us to have Belleville Road widened later on, 10, 15 years down the road. We might want to give that some very, very serious thought to this project here. And that's it.
I guess the question I have, and Donna is it's got me scratching my head. So what I'm hearing though is that really it's not our call anyway. It's a call for Wayne County since it's their road.
Right.
They're going to make the decision, and I would be shocked, Don, if they decided to let a little not have something there, because it is a 2-lane, heavily traveled road at 45 miles an hour.
And Supervisor, if I can just add one more thing for Trustee Boynton, the 15-year timeline for the adding of a left turn lane to Belleville Road is probably a lot longer than what is realistic. I foresee in the township and the county working together before that time frame, and not allowing higher traffic but safer traffic, and not allowing higher speeds but safe travel. I think that you're going to see that roadway become the hub for the next downtown of section of Van Buren Township, and that north of Tyler Road. So the road network that's going to be built there with a left turn lane over the next 5 to 10 years, I believe you're going to see safer travel, not faster or more extensive travel. I think it's going to be safer travel.
I hope you're right.
Through the chair. So, I just don't know. I know all of you will know this. So I'm thinking about the traffic there. I know what it's like now, let alone once it gets built. Will this push for a roundabout? And if so, would the county make that decision, or would we make that decision?
I'll let Vidya probably answer that. I already know the answer. I mean, we'd have
Well, for answer.
I can tell you right now, I think a roundabout will be a bad idea anywhere on the road.
I agree, but
me too.
No,
I totally agree, but I wanted to put it out there. So could you answer the question, Vidya?
No.
Sure. Thank you, Supervisor, members of the board. When Clover first approached the township with this proposal, that was our concern too. The fact that Belleville Road is such a highly traveled corridor leading straight into our downtown. So the Planning Commission did require Clover to provide a full traffic study done by an independent traffic firm, not by their engineer. Sometimes engineers will also put together traffic counts. We had specifically told Clover we want a professional engineering firm that specializes in traffic counts, and they had contracted with Rogue Engineering, which is a very well-known firm that does traffic counts in order to put together the report. The traffic engineer, based on the data collected at the time, determined that no improvements were required anywhere on Belleville Road. While we had our reservations about that report, at that time, Clover's access drive was placed at the northern edge of the property, just diagonally from where Robson Road was. We were not comfortable because you're talking about seniors playing chicken diagonally across from Robson, somebody trying to come, are you going first? Am I going first? It's just a recipe for disaster. So after the traffic report came and Director Power discussed the fact that we do just have a master plan in process with Robson Road going through, we asked the applicant to revise their entire design to shift their access drive much further south in order to provide a separation from Robson Road. The revised design resulted in the adding of approaches. Those are extended approaches. They technically are not a full axle or diesel lane because a full axle or a diesel lane needs to go for a certain set distance, like 75 feet or something. So at this time, the applicant has proposed that to give vehicles an opportunity to slow down or accelerate as they're approaching the site's entrance. However, the site plan approval given by the Planning Commission does have a condition that requires Wayne County approval. Ultimately, Belleville Road belongs to Wayne County. And if Wayne County tells the applicant that your data is not acceptable, this is what you need to do to improve the road, Clover will have to do that. So at this point of time, yes, please go ahead.
No. Go, please finish. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So at this time, we believe with the revised plan, the original traffic report itself said it's not going to be an issue, even when their access drive was placed in a location that we weren't comfortable with right off the bat. The revised design, we think, is much, much better than what was originally proposed. We think it would alleviate some of the concerns, if not all. So that is why the Planning Commission has got a two-step approval process, preliminary and final. They will go fully to Wayne County. Wayne County has to sign off on this project and all aspects of it before the Planning Commission will grant final site plan approval. So your action tonight is just for the senior housing. It will in no way, shape, or form give Clover the idea that their approaches or their traffic patterns or everything is approved, because Wayne County will have that say and we'll expect that report before the Planning Commission acts to grant final site.
So just one further question, if I may, was when you were having the traffic study done, was the new airport expansion looked at as well, and how it correlates to the traffic also on Belleville Road that's coming?
Typically, when a traffic report is done, it is based on counts in front of. If the traffic counts that are headed on Belleville Road, the traffic report has set times when they actually took the counts, it likely will have traffic. If it happens to be during rush hour, it will have traffic counts from the new airport extension that is actually traversing up and down Belleville Road. It would have taken it into account because the data was based on actual collections. However, there was nothing really normal about last year with all the remote working and people moving. So that is a whole different perspective. They took the data as was present at that time, but it's questionable how it will be once the pandemic has passed and we are all back to maybe pre-pandemic levels of travel on the roads. But the data, hard data, was collected based on the current scenario, which means the airport extension, if it was functioning, the traffic from that would have also been taken into account.
All I see is a lot of traffic on Belleville Road. Wow.
It is.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Well,
Thank
maybe
you.
what we need to do is to remind the county about last year not being normal, and they may need to base their studies on the year prior, just as food for thought, for sure. Because I'm really concerned about a senior person, since this is a senior living facility, being able to, as efficient as most seniors are driving. I'm not knocking the senior, but you know, if you've got someone 70, 80, 90 years old driving down a 45-mile-an-hour street and they come up to their drive, I think they need a little bit more room to be able to get out of the line of traffic and then make a nice safe turn into their facility, right or left. That's just my thinking. And you know, maybe I'll follow up on this along with the planning commission, just to see.
Okay, I'd
But
like
it's fantastic. It's a fantastic project though, overall.
Absolutely.
It's a great project overall. Absolutely. Yes.
okay, I'd like to give our new Clover, our new friends a chance to talk about their stuff here. Thanks. Could you take it away, Beth or Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. A lot of familiar faces here, so I appreciate that. I'm going to keep it brief. I know you have a long agenda this evening, but I would like to give you a 3-minute presentation here.
Thank you.
Allow me. And then I would like to also address some of your concerns about the traffic and share our concerns as well. So a little bit about Clover. Clover has approximately 6,500 active adult age restricted independent living units in over 50 communities throughout the Northeast and Midwest. We started in New York State. We go as far west right now as Missouri, actually Kansas City, Missouri, so pretty far west. And we are in an expansion mode, looking to do about 20 additional projects a year based on our popularity as well as, you know, our pro forma for growth. Clover communities are truly unique. We serve a niche market. We're designed as affordable market rate. So most of our similar products, especially in this area, are income restricted, meaning that you can only have X amount of income to qualify to live there. So that really takes away folks who may have a retirement plan or collecting anything more than Social Security. Or they include a care component, which a lot of folks aren't ready for. They don't need that care component. They're looking to downsize and live in, you know, a communal setting, but they're not looking to be cared for yet. So that's where we come in. Our units are designed for self-sufficiency in a communal setting. Each residential unit's fully equipped, full kitchen, full bathroom, up to 2 bedrooms, living rooms, washers and dryers in each unit, and an outdoor patio or balcony for each unit. Included in our lease are communal areas that are available only to our residents in the building. We typically have a beauty shop or barber shop within the facility, community room with an outdoor patio and grill area, libraries, community lounge with fireplace and study, fitness center, coffee room with seating, family room, and residential seating areas throughout. We do have individual storage units available as well as garages that are additional for lease. These are some typical unit layouts. You'll see here we have a 1-bedroom unit, and then we have a 2-bedroom unit. All units are designed with ADA codes and senior mobility issues in mind, with the placements of the countertops, as well as having turn radiuses in bathrooms and turn radiuses in the living rooms. Pardon me. This is an example of our coffee bar, breakfast room. Great place to meet up, watch some TV, hang out by the fireplace. Game rooms tend to be really popular. Community room, can almost see the outdoor patio in there. library, sitting room. Just kind of a recap. We were made aware that Van Buren Township was seeking senior housing. Our job is to provide age in place options for folks in the community. And, we definitely find that to be the case here in Van Buren. I've already received more calls on this project than any other project in Michigan, trying to pre-lease before we even have building plans submitted, which is pretty awesome. And, we're keeping in touch with those folks who have reached out. So this is kind of a close-up look. We're following the color palette requested by the township, worked with the township to, come up with a design that fits for our residents, as well as they'll fit well within the community. So we'll be meeting those standards in the BROD and exceeding those standards. Just giving you an idea of some similar projects we have. This is ongoing in Canton, Michigan right now. We're up for some approvals tomorrow night in Auburn Hills. And then we have a couple projects going on the west side in Alpine Township and near the Kentwood area. So we are excited to be here. We want to be part of your community. We definitely love the pickleball. We think our residents would enjoy your shade for the pickleball. As far as the traffic is concerned, we have to provide a safe entry for our residents. Pardon me. That's essential. If folks can't get in and out, they're not going to come live with us or stay with us. So we're very sensitive to it, and we'll be working with the county to meet whatever they require. The traffic study that we did complete, just for Commissioner Boyton, was done in February of 2020. So actually was done prior to the shutdowns and changes in traffic. So that at least some alleviation that it was done at a peak time. We are a very low peak traffic user. We average like 3 trips during peak times because most of our residents are retired and they control when they leave and come in. And, they usually develop their own awareness of the traffic patterns. We try to locate near churches, shopping centers, and make sure that people can truly age in place in their community. So people coming to live with us definitely are going to know what Belleville Road is like, and they're going to weigh that in creating their trips. So I'm going to leave that there and ask you if you have any additional questions. I'd love to talk about any concerns that you do have.
Any concerns?
To the chair.
Trustee Martin?
To the chair.
Yes. Trustee Martin?
I have a question. Miss, how do you pronounce your name?
Earn it.
Earn that?
Earn it, like earning my paycheck.
Yes,
I earn it.
I'm my connection. Earn it. Okay. Miss Earn it. Thank you, Miss Earn it. You stated that the residency is income sensitive. And my question is, are the lease payments going to be in line with their income, or is it going to just be a flat rate lease rate?
No, I'm sorry if I didn't state that clearly. We have no income guidelines. So we are market rate. Our leases are really set up so that someone could sell their home or live with us for 10 years without having to go into their Social Security. So we're going to be right about the same rates as renting an apartment with no amenities but we're age restricted.
Okay, I misunderstood. I apologize.
No, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
Through the chair.
Trustee Miller?
So, Ms. Arnett, you had mentioned that your residents would enjoy the awnings at the pickleball courts. I'm sure they would. So tell me, how are you providing shade around your building? And are there going to be tables and umbrellas? Explain that. And then how did you come across hearing that Van Buren Township wanted to build senior housing? I'm just curious.
Sure. Couple things. So we do have an outdoor covered patio with an awning. It's actually a very spacious area. I think it's 25 by 12 covered shaded area for our residents. And then the good news is we have a lot of trees on our property. So those trees will provide perpetual shade in what we're preserving and what we will be planting in the future. As far as how I came across Van Buren, I'm local. I currently live in the Ann Arbor area, but formerly lived in Ypsilanti Township. So Van Buren Aldi is my favorite, and spend quite a bit of time there. So I was actually familiar with your former director of community development who reached out to me. So we've been colleagues for a long time.
And is this, if you may answer this as well, indulge me, is this considered low income housing?
No, absolutely not. We are considered market rate. So I really do apologize for any confusion. We are purely a market rate. So we do not consider incomes in our leases at all.
Reggie or Trustee Miller, do you know, a market rate basically is whatever the market can bear, they will charge. So if you have 2,000 applicants for 1,000 places, you're going to raise the rates.
So no sliding scale, correct?
Correct.
Right.
I can tell you that when we first talked to them, God, it seems like it's been a year.
It has been.
So it's we did analyze the fact that they look like a really good fit for a middle income senior housing housing project, which we desperately need here. We don't need enough. We have some little bit of upper scale stuff. Upper scale stuff is almost anybody can create that. We don't have any lower income, but we needed something middle, and we didn't have anything. So we were happy that they came here.
One other quick question, if I may, what is considered additional care? I know it's minimal, but can you talk about that a little bit? What's the care that you also offer for your residents?
We don't provide additional care. So we are truly an independent experience. We provide communal opportunities. So we have, some bowling leagues, and we have yoga, and we have some structured things that residents can choose to play or can choose to participate in, but we do not have a care component.
Okay, so no bus that would take them places.
Actually, as we grow in the area, we will have a community bus. Like I said, we're working in Canton and Auburn Hills, so we will develop a community bus situation. And often several of the churches in the areas also has community buses that will become part of their route as well. So care components are typically housekeeping and medical checks. Places that have care component, I just want to give you some flavor. They're going to start in Michigan. The average is about $3,800 a month. We're going to be looking around $1,200 a month.
Mm.
So
and when will these the units, some units will be ready by when?
Well, we would like them to be ready next week, but it's probably
of course you would.
Yeah, we're probably about 6 months, just based on Wayne County and engineering review time. We're probably about 6 months from breaking ground, and then we hope to complete construction within 14 months.
I see. All right, thank you.
No problem.
Get your magic wand out.
If you have any contacts in Wayne County, we'll,
Kevin
call them
does.
in.
Kevin does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really happy to have them here. I really am. I know
Through
there
the
was,
chair.
I think there's a few times that we actually, both sides, their side and our side, threw our hands up and said, this is just isn't going to work out. And I can tell you that there was probably a solid week there that I think both of us wanted each other to go away. But we did figure out how to make it work. So I'm glad. All right.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is the planning commission appreciated the fact that she worked with our people and the fact that Matt and Dan worked so hard to make this work, because we knew it was a concern of the citizens and it's what the residents were looking for. So we appreciate the work they did. And as a planning commission member, and I speak for all of us, we appreciate all the work that Dan and Matt did to make this happen. And welcome aboard. And we're really looking forward to you.
I love seeing all the brick too. So that looks great. The 50% brick. Nice job.
I just want to note the building behind me is 4 stories. It's not 3 stories. I just have to hide my office, who had some kiddos redecorating today.
Okay. Well, we have a hearing. All right. So at any rate, welcome aboard. I can't say that just yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. So does there anybody else have anything to say before we call for a roll call? Hearing none. Treasurer Bud, could you call the roll?
Treasurer Bud is a yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Frazier.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Boynton.
Yes.
Supervisor McNamara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you very much, and congratulations, and welcome to Van Buren.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
look
for having
forward to
us.
visiting.
It's been a
All right.
pleasure working with you guys. We look forward to working with you in the future as well.
Okay.
Great place to live.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm throwing out your numbers now because
Not yet. Not yet. We need help with Wayne County.
Yeah. All right. Moving on now to I'm sorry. We're on number where? 6?
7. You're on
7.
number 7.
Thank you. Again, the glasses. Number 7, discussion to support on support services for Sumter Roads corridor. This is discussion. It needs no motion for approval. Mr. Best or Mr. Power or Director Power, which one is going to take this?
I'll start off. Thank you. Back in, 2005, 2006, don't tell anybody, but I was on the open space committee at Van Buren Township.
Oh.
And I got to work with some fantastic people. And one of the things that I was drawn into on the open space committee was something you may have heard of it, the South Side Master Plan. And I got to know McKenna and Jim Bruckman and a lot of residents on the South Side as I went to the school over there over at the city of Belleville, and met several times in an auditorium, and we talked about all the fantastic benefits that the South Side of the township has. We looked at all the things that make the South Side great. And then we wrote together this giant, with the comments from the residents and the expertise of the consultants and members like me at the time who were residents and members of the committee. We helped to put together the South Side Master Plan, which you can find on our website. And it's a guiding principle that protects the rural character of the south part of the township, while recognizing that over time there's going to be change, and we need to do our best to protect that rural character. And there are other things that talked about the north side and the west side and specific.
You taking him with you? Okay.
In the South Side Master Plan, it really identified this corridor that you're seeing on the screen as one of the areas that needs to be talked about in the future. Well, that was in 2007. Welcome to the future. We're now here in 2021, and it's time for us to have a sit down for the township and potentially for the township to have a sit down and talk about this corridor. The Southside Master Plan and the residents that helped make the Southside Master Plan said, talk about this in the future. I didn't believe I would be here, but I have the pleasure of working today with Dan Power and our consultant team to bring you this idea that we think it's time perhaps to talk about this. And we're not asking to make any changes right now, and we're not asking for the township to do anything special. What we're asking for today is to have that discussion, to have the public give their 2 cents, have the board give their 2 cents, for us to collect information, to collect data. And really because we want to protect the rural character of the South Side. But we also need to recognize that due to the changes of the economy and how retail has changed, how service industries have changed, how we get our services have changed, this corridor now becomes more important than ever for the future of our township, for our neighbors in the city of Belleville and the Sumter Township. And in another 15, 20 years, the next group of people will have to talk about another area of the township. So today I'd like for our office, our department with Dan Power. We also have Adam Cook here from McKenna, who, if we have any technical questions, I'd like to have Dan Power kind of walk through what we're looking for to get some guidance on as we move forward with this, whether you would like us to move forward. So Dan.
Thank you, Director Best. I think that was very well said. 2020 was not nearly as long ago as 2007, but you very likely remember that you as a board worked with the Planning Commission and our community to adopt a full comprehensive master plan update for Van Buren Township, the first one in over 30 years. And that was a very important effort and laid forth a lot of guiding principles for how the township will be built in the future. But to Director Best's point, one of the most important planning priorities from that document is to revisit the south side of the township, to revisit the Southside Master Plan, and to explore the ways that this area will interface with the city of Belleville, where closer to the border with the city of Belleville, we have planned for maybe some mixed use and maybe some commercial use, but it's not very well defined. And the last time that we really talked about this area was in that 2007 plan. And also with the way this area relates to our neighbors to the south in Sumter Township. And also the way that this relates to the remaining areas of the south side of the township. And so, well, the master plan was just adopted. It's certainly not meant to be a static document, and it certainly opens up further planning processes that will make the township stay current and bring land uses that work for all the township residents and businesses. So a couple of things have kind of accelerated this area as a priority even since 2020. Land use trends in the area are changing. We recognize that there are some factors that may cause light industrial and office uses that may currently have homes in the city of Belleville to expand or look for new areas. There is a decline in retail. There's no secret there. Traditional strip development. Well, there certainly is some vitality to it, and we have definitely a strong commercial corridor on Belleville Road, and we certainly want to support the commercial uses in downtown Belleville. Maybe local commercial needs a fresh look when you start to get south of the city of Belleville. So looking at that area that we had previously tagged as local commercial, we need to recognize that retail is changing, the model of commercial use is changing, and we want to protect our other commercial core areas. So these kinds of factors are changing the land use context of this area. And this change is coming. And at the same time, we recognize that there's a strong and consistent desire to maintain the rural character of the southern portion of the township. So the way that we can get ahead of these changes and protect that character and to strategically plan where growth occurs is to plan for it. And so we think that the priority that was laid forth in the 2020 master plan is even more important today. We think it is really important to visit this corridor. And we think there is a way to create viable and context sensitive land uses on this corridor that are different from what you see now. And what that means is really things that respect and protect the existing land uses that surround this. And what the outcome may be from this process is that there are zoning changes that enable new land uses in this area. But the foundation for any zoning change needs to be a planned effort. So a future land use map amendment, and in this case, looking more at a more fine-grained detail level of what that future land use looks like, especially on Sumter Road. We think it's important to have a really robust planning process that envisions this and that puts design drawings together to show how this might look, because to those of us who do the planning stuff every day, it might sound and feel a little bit different to talk about that stuff than if you don't, if you're looking at it from a different lens. And it's always helpful to have visuals and graphics to see that lens through and to bring people into the planning process with. So what you have before you is a request to consider that we enable this planning process and that we start a path toward having a corridor and future land use plan update for Sumter Road. There is a potential scope that we're looking at with our consultants from McKenna that would include a kickoff with community engagement, and a review of existing conditions in the area, a series of public input efforts, and a synthesis of ideas, goals and objectives and actions. And the outcome may be that there's new zoning recommendations and changes to the zoning ordinance to enable these new uses to grow, or the planning process may take this in a different direction. We have some ideas of what may work here, but we want to have the process play out and bring people into that process so that it's an informed decision that everybody in this area buys into. That we make sure we give everybody an opportunity to buy into, so that it's a sustainable path forward. So the first step of this process, if the board supports this, would be to allow staff to work with the township supervisor, township clerk, and the township treasurer to accept and approve this proposed scope. And then the outcome of this process may be that we plan for different future land uses in this area and potentially zoning changes. And then the next broad step would be that we do want to look at the overall picture of the south side of the township. And there will be a more comprehensive look at the south side, everything in the south portion of the township that was covered in 2007. But we certainly think the most critical part is this first step in looking at the Sumter Road corridor. So we are, as the supervisor said, we don't need a vote, but we are looking for a discussion and your support and your feedback and your ideas. So with that, Director Best and I would be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have more for this. So why are you guys getting this now? About 4 years ago, I came in with this group, and Kroger's was talking about moving into this area, and they quite frankly didn't fit the zoning, but everybody wants Kroger's, and they all wanted to come in here, so they said they can go down there. There's not enough room in Belleville. They can go down there. Well, one thing led to another. There would have been zoning changes and everything else, but lo and behold, Kroger's decided not to go down there through no fault of anybody's, but they didn't go. Now Belleville is experiencing a new problem with shortage of land, and their people within Belleville are looking for somewhere to go. And one of the places they wanted to go was the Sumter corridor, which would have to be rezoned and rebuilt and industrial plazas built. And we have developers that want to do that. But the problem again is we never did change the zoning. We've never had the discussion. We've always said that that 1 mile was going to remain agricultural. We now have Sumter, and maybe not the current group, but the past group saying, can't you turn that into a corridor that's got commercial and does some light industrial on it, so that maybe there comes a day when business starts flowing down that street into Sumter. And again, we didn't do anything. So I guess the question is, if we're going to do something, we should do it so that the next time, next time somebody like a Kroger's or like the full scale movement of everybody in industrial areas in Belleville happens, Van Buren can be there to take ride that wave. So that's why we're bringing this forward now. So I'm going to leave it to whoever wants to talk next. Okay. Reggie, you are on mute.
Through the chair?
Yes. Is that Bud?
Yep.
Then
I guess it's part of the planning commission and because I looked at it when they did the Southside Master Plan, I think we're at a state now in the point that it's a time we need to look at that because Sumter is building up their corridor with a few more businesses, probably not as many as they would hope, but I know they're looking for us to supply places where they can have a supermarket, the same way with Belleville. So I think this is the area that needs to be looked at. We knew that there was concerns with sewers, but we also know that because it's down Hull Road, the people on the south side of Hull Road can also have access to that because we've talked to the health department when we were even looking at that property. So I think now is a good time to start to look at it and start putting in place what we need to do to reshape that to what benefits Belleville, Sumter, and Van Buren Township.
Trustee Miller.
So this is one mile, correct? Approximate.
It's actually more than that because it's from the city limits of Belleville all the way to the Sumter Township line.
Okay, so with that in mind, I know the supervisor mentioned that Kroger had come in and then they decided not to. So it wasn't a zoning issue, was it, that Kroger pulled out? Because that could have been easily addressed.
Okay, it could have been easily addressed, but it would have taken 6 months because there are laws that force you to go certain ways withholding.
Okay. Okay, so what else I wanted to ask here and cover is that I know on Main Street, traffic is very heavy right now. And I thought the Davenports were putting in some kind of a grocery store or market in that new building, in that new area on the edge there by the lake. So what are you looking at per se, putting in there, and what has been the discussions with the city of Belleville and Sumter on this? Are you wanting just a certain facility in here? And has the marijuana facilities been taking into account?
Director Best, you want to answer this question? I probably should, but I'm going to let you.
I'll answer this. So the talk about a grocery store is this golden idea that everybody would love to have, this grocery store. But that's not, the grocery store isn't why we're doing this.
Exactly.
There is no reason for us to do this if a grocery store wanted to site at this location, they would have to not only jump through the hoops to get rezoning, because the supervisor is absolutely correct. It would have taken Kroger 6 months, but the Kroger had other challenges that they had to meet with their due diligence, basically being, they have metrics they have to meet to site a store. And at the time, those metrics weren't met. So the cost of going through the 6 month process didn't outweigh the metric, the lack of the metric. So we're not talking about a grocery store here. What we're talking about, and the general idea is, this community has to talk about what we'd like to see there. Both Dan Power, Director Power, and myself, our consultants, and other interested parties such as our engineers have ideas of what this corridor could be. We've gotten a lot of interested calls from plumbers, roofers, printing companies, bakeries, all restaurants. We've gotten calls and interest of why can't we site along this corridor? And the problem is it's not really set up that way right now. It's not set up to be flexible, to allow for the changes that are going to be going on over the next 10 years. So when we look at this site, we're thinking commercial uses that are service-based, commercial uses that are that have a sales component as well as a production component. A printing company like Ahern Signs is a really good example. You can walk into the storefront at Ahern Signs, but in the back they have a larger area with their printers and their processes and their paper rolls and their sign products where they're fabricating, but it's super light use. So, and then you can have a lot of green space on it. So along the main road, you have your commercial uses, your restaurants, not fast food necessarily, but targeting sit-down restaurants, service-based industries, and unique retail opportunities that you don't find north of the freeway. Then on the inside of that, from off of Sumter Road, you have the super light industrial with lots of green space and lots of landscaping that provides that buffer between the community, the rural community, and the road. Now, the connectivity between the city of Belleville and the city of Sumter, by setting up some structure, these are the thoughts that we have as planners and we have as people who look at economic development in the region. But it's not really up to us. What this discussion is all about is to have that discussion. What does our community want to see? What does this community want in that corridor? And yes, everyone's going to say, we want a grocery store, we want this, we want that. That's fine. We can have that talk, but we're not doing it to get any specific business. What we're trying to do, because we don't pick winners and losers as a community, what we do is we create the best economic conditions and situations for people to want to site in our community. We have the best, lowest taxes. We have the best water rates. We have the best building department and speed that get people's permits. We have the best people and the best workforce, but we have an area here that's kind of lost.
Absolutely.
And so this is that discussion to find that direction so that we can find those lost businesses that want to be here.
Right. And with that being said, Director, that area that we're looking at, it isn't very appealing right now. It's run down. It needs some care. It's just, you know, I won't say blight, but it just needs to be developed, and it needs to be developed right. And I'm so glad that we're looking at this, but I also know that we'll take into account the traffic that when we go ahead and develop this, the traffic will be taken into account because it's heavy on Main Street right now. So I'd like to see this go forward, but how would we go about that, Director? What's the next step after these discussions and you hear, so then what?
We have a ready program that we approved about 4 years ago, which would bring in the planning commission and the community for meetings, see what they want. You remember those meetings?
Yeah, I remember those meetings. So how long will it take for this corridor
to be built out or to
be planned out?
Dan?
Well, the next step in this process, if the board supports this idea of moving forward and looking at this, is to have a community engagement webinar to kick things off.
Yeah, how long? I think it's 6 months to a year. How long before we actually get it rezoned?
Yeah, so this future land use update process will probably take somewhere around 6 months to get through that. And there's, as the Director Best said, there's public hearing requirements and state mandated requirements for planning that are kind of built into that. But it probably is about 6 months before we get a future land use map update that enables rezoning and other uses to get proposed.
And I take it that you'll be having conversations with the city of Belleville, Green Conley, and also with Sumter Township as well, because we're all connected.
Well, I'll answer that one. I've had some preliminary discussions with the Belleville DDA, some very preliminary discussions with them. I'll be continuing to have discussions. I think Dan Power and I and our consultant will probably meet with the city and the city's planner to talk about this. But really, even if the city of Belleville wasn't in a transitional, like if they were still doing what they were doing before, we would still want to do something with this.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
It's more of a support for the city. I'll make this statement because I made this in the planning commission and I'll make it again. This isn't to take any business away from the city. This is to create spaces for long-term businesses to have a place to land, because from the city, if they're moving out, we want them to stay local if we can. And right now, we don't have a place in our zoning for a lot of those businesses to land, because the Belleville zoning ordinance has a unique zoning district that allows for a lot of things. We don't have that. And so this potentially could help create a soft place for them to land locally. So.
All right, I can't see everybody, but if there's anybody else that wishes to speak on this, speak up. About that.
Dan, can you shut that down?
You don't need to shut that down. Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, we've talked about it for 5 years doing it. I believe that we missed some opportunities that came to us, but we could not possibly have moved fast enough for those opportunities. And I'm not counting the grocery store. I think that the grocery store was another matter. There have been other things. And quite frankly, the Belleville industrial section is right now is filling to capacity, and our good friends and neighbors that are working in that industrial area, light industrial area, are moving to other cities because they have no choice. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going, it's not a vote, but I take it that we're all for moving this forward to the redevelopment ready program that allows us to start having talks. Yay?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, directors.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. All right. Next item is number 8, to consider approval of first reading of an ordinance. Who would like to read the first reading of an ordinance? Okay, Don Boynton. Don Boynton, would you like to make the motion for approval of number 8? And you'll need to read it.
Sure. I move to approve the first reading of ordinance 040621, number 1, amendments to lot coverage and outdoor industrial storage area related to enclosed roofed structures.
Very good. Can I get a support?
Support.
Bud?
Yep.
Okay. Boynton. Okay, and Bud and Fraser, in case you don't know, your microphone is off. I saw your lips moving. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So, okay. So, Director, could you take it away?
Yes, thank you, board. I'll start with kind of a high level comment about zoning. Communities adopted zoning ordinances in the start to address nuisances. By and large, that's the kind of the basis for a lot of zoning. And one of the ways that communities address nuisances and overbuilding of sites is to have lot coverage limits. And how that is defined is that in different communities, they define it in different ways. But in Van Buren Township, we have lot coverage limits in many of our zoning districts that limits the amount of roofed structures specifically that can be built on a given site. In our industrial zoning districts, we limit lot coverage to 35% of a total lot area. And the intention of that, as I was saying, is really to make sure that sites are not overbuilt, that they're depleting open space too much, that they're not directing too much runoff off of the property. And so there's a good basis for our lot coverage regulations. And they've served the community well over the years. I think that we have a lot of really high quality industrial and commercial sites because of those limits. But inevitably, there are situations where zoning doesn't account for all scenarios that make sense. And one thing that our zoning ordinance does allow is outdoor industrial storage areas, which are often in on a paved surface where there's already going to be equipment, flat paved areas where stormwater is still hitting the ground and it's not being soaked up by plants. It's an area that's not going to be landscaped. And what we found, and this is driven by a specific development site for Nyapco drive lines, when perhaps a site builds their full building coverage, but they still have outdoor storage area, they cannot protect those outdoor storage areas from the elements with a canopy structure because we have lot coverage limits that specifically restrict a site based on how much roof is on the site. So while having a canopy over an area like that does not inhibit the intent of what we were going for with a lot coverage limit, it would not add any rainwater runoff. It would not deplete the open space any further. It cannot be allowed under the current zoning because there's a limit to 35%, including all roofed structures. And so I guess to kind of summarize what we would like to do, I think a graphic might demonstrate this relatively clearly. We would like to enable sites that have these outdoor permitted industrial storage areas to cover those areas with a canopy structure up to 20,000 square feet or 10% additional lot coverage, whichever is less on a given site, in order to provide a sensible cover for what's already basically a developed portion of the site. So that is really this is a very specific zoning ordinance amendment, but we want to keep it careful and specifically limited to these kinds of circumstances, because what we don't want to do is open up our lot coverage limits, raise the cap on lot coverage across the board. We think there's a good reason that we limit to 35%. But in these situations where you have an outdoor storage area that's approved, just by virtue of not having a roof, that storage area doesn't count against the site, but then having a roof over it will count against it. But we think that the roof will actually add to the value and the quality of the site in many cases. So what we are putting forth is a zoning ordinance amendment that has been reviewed in a public hearing and in 3 total meetings with the Planning Commission. So there has been a lot of thought and a lot of discussion behind this, but it really all boils down to what you see on the screen, at least at a conceptual level, to have the ability to cover those outdoor industrial storage areas. So if you have any questions about these amendments, our principal planner, Vidya Krishnan, and myself and Director Best are here to talk about it. And we're glad to answer any questions. And we can, of course, come back with answers for the second reading as well. But this really is the overall view. So I'm glad to have you take it from there.
To the supervisor.
Trustee Frazier.
I think it's a well thought out plan and one that is necessary.
I do too.
The chair.
Trustee Martin.
I'd like to thank the Planning Commission, Director Power, and Ms. Krishnan for their due diligence on this matter. This came to the BZA originally, and the company was seeking a variance, even though it was a small variance. And it was initially, we discussed it very thoroughly, and we suggested that they go back to the planning commission to come up with a solution that would allow them to do what they needed to do without us granting a variance, which is, we were recommended not to, because you set a precedent when you start allowing variances, you know, next thing you know, your zoning ordinances don't really mean anything. So I appreciate the work that they did, and I'm glad that they took the steps, and that the company took the steps to get this done to their satisfaction.
Thank you very much to the BZA, to the company, Miko, and to our workers. It really was. It was something that we wanted to do. We just didn't know how to do it without hurting the future. And luckily, those three groups came together and figured something out. Thank you. Good work. Hearing no further discussion, can I get? Oh, I need a roll call. Treasurer Bud, would you call roll?
Sure. Treasurer Bud is yes. Clerk Wright is excused. Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Boynton?
Yes.
Supervisor McNamara?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We move on. We're moving on. We're at reports. We have none. We're at public comment for non-agenda items. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak? I see Kathy Klein's out there. Would you like to talk about your frogs? Come on, Kathy. Kathy Klein has got half of I've been out of the waste management a lot. And I can tell you these big, huge, brutish guys that wear Carhartts and drive D10 dozers love Kathy, because she's got them running around with these cute little butterfly nets trying to catch frogs. Kathy wants to rescue all the frogs from the landfill and repopulate other sections of Van Buren Township. And I believe she's bringing.
Wonderful.
She says she has a chat. She says she loved to talk, but she can't unmute herself.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Wait, there it is. I just found it. Sorry, I struggle with technology too. So I did want to let you guys know, I think I heard a misstatement on your last motion. I think it was read related to enclosed, and what I read in the agenda was unenclosed. So I'm just pointing that out to make sure you correct it if it needs to be. And then, yes, we are working hard over at the former Woodlands Golf Course to relocate some frogs and toads. We're doing it with internal employee effort only because of COVID. We want to maintain our, limit our risk and liability. And the other thing is that the employees have really shown up. They really love the opportunity to do these types of things. And I think that just speaks for society as a whole.
They're all laughing about it.
Well,
and
no, the
We're
people
not.
who show up don't laugh about it. We all laugh about the effort, but the ones that show up are like really dedicated to the effort to preserve and save. And the weather's been against us. I will say this, the weather's been against us. The first effort, it was really cold leading up to the event, so we only got one frog. And then we scheduled a second time. The weather was against us again, because if you don't know this about the clay in this area, if that clay gets wet and you try to walk through it, it's like wearing
slime.
Yeah, so we couldn't do the second one. So we rescheduled, and we have one coming up this weekend again for employees only. And but the weather's looking bad again. It looks like we're going to have rain leading right up to it. So, but we want you all to know we're doing our best. We're working as hard as we can to make these efforts matter.
Those frogs are cursing us.
I think Mother Nature is like beating us all about the head and shoulders. And nature is just, doing what nature does. It tends to make its move on its own. But for those that might be a little slow to react, we are working to move them.
So do people adopt the frogs like a rescue frog?
No, we haven't done anything like that. Although now that you mention it, I suppose if we did, we would get reaction. People are very, very passionate about this. So we're just doing our part to move them into the ponds that we don't need to disturb yet.
Okay.
And they'll cohabitate there until we can move them off-site into an approved mitigated area.
Are you working with Jennifer Zangline, who's a big frog enthusiast?
Oh, she and I follow each other on Facebook. So as soon as we might be able to do something, and actually, to be honest, I think when we do a formal relocation off-site, once and if that gets approved, we'll probably hire a consultant and keep it based with a consultant so that it's effective. Because sometimes when we get involved with our boisterous enthusiasm, we can limit the effectiveness of the effort. So we really want to make sure that we put our best foot forward to do what we can.
Okay, great.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Trustee Martin.
Kathleen, thank you and Waste Management for being environmentally conscious. You know, people, we chuckle and stuff about frogs and toads, but they play a very important part in our ecosystem. They play a very important part.
Yes,
and it's important as we develop land and move them out of their habitat, that we try to find places for them to be. And I'm glad that you are doing this. It's very good for the environment and for the community. Thank you.
Yep, frogs and toads are a great indication of the health of our environment, whether we all know that or not. And those of your citizens that might be listening and watching know that you can participate with Huron River Watershed or Friends of the Rouge, because every year about this time, they do frog and toad surveys, which really just involve citizens listening for what they hear and reporting that. And that creates a citizen science database of the health and well-being of our watersheds. Because no matter where we live, we all live in a watershed.
Yeah, I think if you could get that information to us, we'll put it out.
Sure.
So going back to what she just said about that motion, do we have to correct anything?
Not really, because we don't. Yeah.
Okay.
It was written down properly. Nobody changed the way we wrote it. So.
All right.
Okay. So I have nothing else. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to say? Whatever. Nope. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I got a motion for adjournment. Do I have a
Support. Support.
Nobody's saying no. We are adjourned.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Stay safe.
I know it's a long one, but